Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever looked at your network and felt completely overwhelmed by that massive alphabet soup of acronyms, OSPF, BGP, EIGRP, and wondered which one actually belongs in your specific setup, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're looking at the underlying logic of how the internet and your own enterprise network actually moves data from point A to point B without getting bogged down in all the complicated command line syntax. We're drawing our insights today from a fantastic resource. This is part 17 of a 20-part tutorial called Guide to Modern Network Routing Protocols from Virtualization Options LLC. They're a Colorado-based technology research, education, and advisory organization. Now, we're only going to discuss what is in Chapter 17 today. In this specific chapter, they lay out the essential routing framework and the exact vocabulary you need to master one absolutely crucial architectural decision, knowing exactly when to use BGP and, more importantly, when to avoid it entirely. All right, here is our roadmap for today. We'll define the core routing problem, cover some foundational network concepts, compare interior routing tools to external ones, and then wrap up by looking at how all of this plays out in real-world deployments. Section 1, the core routing problem. Let's kick things off with a headache I think every IT professional managing a network can totally relate to: manually maintaining network paths. I mean, when a packet arrives at a router, that router literally has a split second to decide which interface to forward it out of. So how does it actually know? Well, there's a pretty stark contrast in how we solve this. On one side, we have static routing. This is where an admin has to manually type every single destination network into every router's table. Now, static routing is perfectly fine for a tiny stub network, like an isolated office with just one connection to the outside world. But the second a link goes down, static routing breaks. It just doesn't adapt. On the other side, we have dynamic routing. These protocols are the real heroes here. They automate all that reachability information, they dynamically recalculate paths when failures happen, and they can easily scale to thousands of routers without you ever having to lift a finger once they're configured. But listen, picking the wrong dynamic protocol comes with a massive cost. Let's say you deploy an outdated protocol like RIP on a modern 50-router enterprise network. You could be waiting up to 3 excruciating minutes for the network to recover after a link failure. Just imagine that. Your whole company sitting totally idle, video calls dropping everywhere, transactions outright failing for 3 full minutes just because the network is struggling to figure out a backup path. You've got to match the right protocol to the right environment. Section 2. Foundational network concepts. Okay, so to avoid that kind of agonizing downtime, we really need to nail down our vocabulary before we start comparing specific protocols. There are 3 key terms you absolutely must know. First up is the Autonomous System, or AS. Think of this as your organization's own digital sovereign territory. It's basically a collection of networks and routers that are all under the control of one single entity, presenting a unified routing policy to the outside world. To participate globally, an AS gets assigned a unique number. For context here, Google's Autonomous System Number, or ASN, is 15169. Comcast's is 7922. We use internal protocols to navigate inside an AS and external protocols to talk between them. Next is convergence. Simply put, this is how your routers get on the same page after something changes, like if a fiber line gets sliced by a backhoe. It's literally how fast your network heals itself. And convergence time varies wildly depending on your protocol. Modern ones like OSPF take just seconds, while older ones like RIP, as we just talked about, can take minutes. Packets get dropped during convergence, so speed here is absolutely critical. And finally, the metric. Say a router has 3 completely different ways to get to the exact same destination. How does it choose the best one? The metric is that deciding factor. And different protocols use totally different logic for this. One might just count the physical router hops. Another might look at the actual bandwidth, deciding it's actually better to take a longer path over gigabit fiber than a shorter route over a slow modem. Others use really complex policy rules. Section 3. Interior routing. The IGPs. All right, now that we have our vocabulary down, let's talk about our interior routing tools, also known as IGPs, or Interior Gateway Protocols. These operate strictly inside your single autonomous system. When you're routing internally, you run into this fundamental divide: routing by rumor versus routing by map. First, you have distance vector protocols. These literally route by rumor. A router only knows what its directly connected neighbors tell it. It has zero concept of the overall network picture, just a direction and a distance. Because of this blind trust, convergence is slow and routing loops are a real risk. Then you have link state protocols, which take a totally different approach. Instead of rumors, they flood information about their links to everyone on the network. This allows every single router to independently build an identical, incredibly detailed map of the entire network. Because everyone has the full picture, it's unbelievably fast and completely loop-free. So the big takeaway here is picking the right internal tool for the job. RIP caps you at 15 hops and blindly updates every 30 seconds. Honestly, it's pretty much a relic these days. OSPF, though, is super popular. It's a linked state protocol that uses bandwidth cost as its metric, and it scales beautifully to massive networks. EIGRP is this really cool Cisco-developed hybrid protocol that factors in both bandwidth and delay for blazing fast convergence. And then there's ISIS, another highly scalable linked state protocol that's actually the go-to backbone for massive internet service providers. Honestly, for most enterprise campuses today, you're really just deciding between OSPF or EIGRP. Section 4, the global standard, BGP. So what happens when your traffic actually needs to leave your organization's internal map, exit your autonomous system, and head out into the wider world? That is exactly where Border Gateway Protocol, or BGP, steps in. BGP is literally the routing protocol of the internet itself. It makes global connectivity possible. But unlike OSPF, which builds a map, BGP is a path vector protocol. It tracks the exact sequence of AS numbers a route has passed through. And because it's carrying this massive global table of over 900,000 IPv4 prefixes, BGP is built to prioritize rock-solid stability and strict policy control over raw speed. Slow convergence is totally fine for BGP because on a global internet scale, stability is way more important than instantaneous updates. Now, we really have to distinguish between BGP's two session types. eBGP, or external BGP, is what connects you to different autonomous systems. This is exactly how you'd peer with your ISP or maybe a massive cloud provider like AWS or Azure. Then you have iBGP, or internal BGP, which is an entirely different beast. It's used for sessions between routers inside the same autonomous system. Its main job is to take all those external internet routes you just learned via eBGP and distribute them safely across your own internal infrastructure. Section 5. Making the right choice. Let's take all this theory, bring it back down to earth, and look at how this plays out in real-world enterprise architectures. The big question, when do you actually need BGP and when is it just massive overkill? Picture a hospital network spanning 5 different campuses. Internally, between all those buildings, they run OSPF. It's fast, it's linked state, and it gives them a perfect map of their internal resources. But at the edge of their network, where they connect out to the internet, they just use a simple static default route pointing straight to their single internet service provider. In this setup, 0 BGP is required, none. It's simple, highly reliable, super easy for a small IT team to manage, and honestly, it just works perfectly. Now contrast that setup with a massive university. This organization actually owns its own public IP space, and they demand absolute maximum uptime. So they maintain active connections to 2 completely different ISPs. Internally, sure, they still run OSPF across the campus, but at the edge, a simple static route just isn't going to cut it anymore. They need to dynamically balance traffic and instantly handle failovers between those 2 providers. So they hold their own autonomous system number and run eBGP to intelligently route traffic based on their own policies. Here, BGP is absolutely vital for that multi-homing capability. Ultimately, this all boils down to one vital architectural question you really need to ask yourself. The truth is, most enterprise IT pros will actually never need to configure BGP. If you've just got a single upstream provider, using an internal protocol like OSPF paired with a static default route is almost always the right call. So before you take the plunge into the heavy complexity of exterior routing, ask yourself, is BGP actually solving a real business problem you have today, or are you just over-engineering for a future that might never arrive? Next time you look at your network edge, ask yourself, what is your routing protocol really costing you? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I hope this helps you navigate the networking landscape with total confidence.